Hi everyone, this is Dave Greenwalt with Leanness Lifestyle University, and I ran across a study today, and I was looking at Science Daily. I'll show you that in just a moment. I got pretty fired up, and I got fired up enough to do this video, a PowerPoint video, where I'm going to run through this whole study with you, and I'm going to give you my insights and my opinions and all of that, so that you can make your own determinations after hearing this, because this study I think is going to make the rounds. I bet you see this in some of the popular magazines. I think some news reports are going to probably grab this, and you're going to see it kind of all over the place, especially when you get the headlines that I'm already seeing from this research article. The actual title of the research piece is Effects of Aerobic and/or Resistance Training on Body Mass and Fat Mass in Overweight or Obese Adults. Pretty cool study overall, in that they were looking at overweight or obese adults, and they were looking at 3 different modalities of training: aerobic only, resistance training only, or a combination of aerobic and resistance training. And they were looking to determine which one was going to be the clear winner, or which one might be the winner as it relates to changes in body mass, fat mass, and all of that. So this is the information on the actual study, and we'll get going here. So this is the actual headline that I saw in Science News: Aerobic exercise trumps resistance training for weight and fat loss. I thought, wow, okay. And it starts off, aerobic training is the best mode of exercise for burning fat, according to Duke researchers who compared aerobic training, resistance training, and a combination of the two. Wow, I thought, man, I have got to read this, and I did. So most of what you're going to see here is actual verbatim. It is a quote right directly from the research itself. And so I want to share this with you so that you know that I'm just not paraphrasing and making stuff up. The authors say, although professional organizations have historically focused exercise guidelines on endurance or aerobic training, AT, for weight loss, that's what they're saying AT is, aerobic training, and maintenance, recent guidelines and position statements targeting body weight reduction and maintenance have suggested that resistance training, RT, may also be effective for reducing fat mass. In some cases, guidelines may lead to misperceptions among clinicians, exercise professionals, and laypersons about the strength of the evidence regarding the effectiveness of RT for inducing weight and fat mass loss, leading the researcher to believe that RT has been conclusively shown to reduce fat mass. However, a close examination of the published literature reveals that randomized controlled trials are inconclusive on this point. Given the imperative of reducing obesity rates, exercise guidelines must be based upon unequivocal evidence of specific relations between exercise mode and changes in body mass and fat mass. Unequivocal means there's no opportunity for a second choice here. It means that there is no dispute, beyond dispute. It's unequivocal, is what they say the guidelines going forward should be based on. The studies of a targeted risk reduction intervention through defined exercise, aerobic, and resistance training. Wow. So that's the name of their study. STRRIDE-AT/RT. That's the name of their study. That's what they're calling it. So that study was designed in part to address the aforementioned questions. And those aforementioned questions are basically which one is best. Which one is best at reducing overall body mass, fat mass, and all of that. In a large randomized comparative effectiveness research trial of primarily middle-aged overweight and obese men and women with cardiometabolic health risk. So, it started with 234 subjects. They were recruited into the overall study. Of these, 75% were recruited at Duke University, and the remaining 25% were recruited at ECU. Inclusion criteria were 18 to 70 years of age, sedentary, only exercising 1 to 2 times a week. They were overweight or moderately obese, with a body mass index between 25 and 35, and with mild to moderate dyslipidemia. So their blood fats were going to be off, either LDL cholesterol, 130 to 190, or HDL cholesterol, 40 milligrams for men, 45 for women. Subjects were non-smokers without a history of diabetes, hypertension, or coronary artery disease. By the way, I like the subjects overall that they were testing. It's totally in my wheelhouse. And these are the clients that I typically work with, late 40s, early 50s, with some history of cardiometabolic disorder. And all subjects were asked to maintain their current lifestyle for a 4-month run-in period, followed by pre-exercise testing, with subsequent randomization into one of 3 training groups. Now, I like what they did here. They did this 4-month run-in period to basically wash out people that weren't going to take the real study serious. So they just basically said, look, okay, you're in the study. Congratulations. You're going to do 4 months of just do what you normally do. Don't change anything. And then they kind of started things 4 months in, and this was a nice washout period to see who was going to be serious enough to even do that. So 90% of the subjects recruited completed the run-in period and were then randomized to an exercise group. Of those randomized, 155 or 74% completed the study, and that's pretty much what we're looking at here, about 155 subjects. The exercise groups were as follows. Group 1, resistance training. So they built up to 3 days per week, 3 sets per day, 8 to 12 repetitions per set. And what they basically did is they did a total body workout, and they did 3 sets per exercise of 8 to 12 repetitions per set, and they worked out 3 days a week. The aerobic training group burned a calorically equivalent to 12 miles per week at 65 to 80% of peak VO2, and the aerobic training plus resistance training group burned the caloric equivalent of 12 miles per week at 65 to 80% peak VO2 plus the 3 days per week, 3 sets per day of each body part, 8 to 12 repetitions per set. Again, of about a total body workout for their RT. The RT group also had a ramp period until week 5 when they were prescribed. 3 sessions per week, 3 sets each session of 8 to 12 reps, designed to target all major muscle groups. The weight lifted amounts were increased by 5 pounds each time the participant performed 12 reps with proper form on all 3 sets during 2 consecutive workout sessions, which I like. And by the way, that's a really good way for a beginner to kind of start if you are training on your own for weight training. It's a good modality, a good philosophy to follow right there, based right on the science. So we got 3 groups. Aerobic only, and they did about 133.5 minutes a week of exercise. The RT only did 180 minutes a week, and the aerobic plus RT did 313.6. That's a misprint. You should say 313 because they basically did 180 minutes plus 133.6 minutes of cardio per week. It's a duplicate. Sorry about that. So in this slide now it shows the 155 total subjects, and the median age was about 50. Slightly more females than males, and it was a 32-week-long study, about 8 months. And I like that too. I like that it was not some 6 to 8 week study. So far so good for the most part. And they say body mass significantly decreased in the aerobic training and the aerobic plus RT, but significantly increased in RT. Fat mass and waist circumference significantly decreased in the aerobic training and the AT plus RT groups, but were not altered in the resistance training group. And measures of lean body mass significantly increased in RT and ATRT, but not in AT. All right, so let me just break this down a second here. I got some things bolded here that kind of stand out. First of all, when we look at body mass, we're basically looking at the weight you'd see on the scale. Fat mass is the number of pounds of what they consider fat after lean body mass is calculated with a percent of body fat utilized. So we're looking at body mass. Look at terms: body mass, fat mass, lean body mass. So lean body mass is essentially anything other than fat mass, and fat mass is considered to be essentially anything other than lean body mass. So with body mass only, it significantly decreased with aerobics and the aerobics plus weights, but it significantly decreased in the aerobic training and the aerobic plus weights, but significantly increased in resistance training. So that's scale weight. So we're looking at a total body mass increased with resistance training. Well, right off the bat, I want to tell you that comes primarily from the increase in lean body mass, or the increase in muscle from doing the weight training. Next, break down that next sentence again. Fat mass and waist circumference significantly decreased in the aerobic and the aerobic plus weights group. So fat mass and waist circumference both dropped significantly in aerobics and the aerobics plus weights group, but they were not altered in the resistance training group. So the resistance training group by itself wasn't all that great at reducing just fat. And of course, lean body mass, or think muscle, significantly increased in the weights only group and the aerobic plus weights group, but not in the aerobic group, the AT group, which makes sense. Body weight and fat mass significantly decreased in both AT and ATRT, but not in RT. suggesting that aerobic exercise is more effective in changing these measures. However, the change in lean body mass in both weights and the aerobic plus weights was significantly greater than that in the aerobic alone, a finding supported by similar observations for the measure of thigh muscle area. Having the benefit of both modes of exercise allowed the aerobic plus weights to decrease body fat percent significantly more than either just aerobic or just weights, due to decreased fat mass combined with increased lean body mass. Similarly, there was an apparent additive effect of the two modes of exercise on waist circumference, as the aerobic plus weights significantly decreased waist circumference more than aerobics alone or weights alone. Discussion. The prescriptions utilized were consistent with national recommendations for the general population. I agree with that. I think that their aerobic protocols and their weight training protocols, as are typically prescribed for the national general population, were pretty much spot on. I think they did a nice job with that in amount, volume, and so on. The main findings of the study were the following. 1. A substantial amount of weights alone did not reduce body mass or fat mass. Okay? That means the scale didn't drop much, which could be related to the increase in muscle mass that they put on. And the fat mass then also did not go down as much, or did not go down in a substantial way. All right. Number 2, recommended amounts of cardio alone were significantly better than weights alone for reducing measures of body fat and body mass. In other words, the scale dropped better with cardio alone, and body fat dropped better with cardio alone than with weights alone. And 3, the combination of aerobic and resistance training did not provide an additive effect for reducing fat mass or body mass compared with cardio alone. This is kind of bizarre to me, but anyway, let me keep going. Thus, the training modes in combination neither acted in synergy nor interfered, but rather seemed to act in a linear fashion when body composition measures were the outcome variables. There seems to be quite a discrepancy here. The combination of cardio plus resistance training did provide an additive effect on fat mass and on body mass compared to cardio alone. I do not understand what they're saying there. It could just be just a misunderstanding on my part, but I'm going to show you what I mean here in just a moment. The lack of body mass observed with weights alone in this study supports the findings of others and is driven by an increase in lean body mass. Yeah, so we didn't see a big scale drop, but that's because what they're saying is because that's because we had an increase in lean body mass. So the problem with reporting changes in fat percent instead of absolute fat mass, it's demonstrated by the weights only group in the present study, for whom fat percent did significantly decrease without any change in absolute fat mass. In other words, the changes in percent body fat were driven solely by the increase in lean body mass induced with RT. The present study failed to observe significant total body or fat mass loss, even with a very substantial resistance training program of 8 months duration. So what they're saying is the weights alone did not drop total body weight or total body fat, but it did increase lean body mass. Well, what we've got here is we've got 3 different modalities. We've got cardio alone, weights alone, and cardio and weights combined. And I ran some numbers, and this is what I see. For body mass, which just think scale pounds, for the cardio alone, over 8 months, the subjects lost 3.9 pounds. With weights alone, they lost 1.8, and with cardio and weights, they lost 3.6. We look at lean mass and think muscle here. With cardio alone, they lost just a smidge, about 0.2 of a pound. With weights alone, they gained 2.4 pounds, and with a combination of cardio and weights, they gained 1.8 pounds of lean mass. For fat mass, for cardio alone, they lost 3.7 pounds. For weights alone, they lost 0.6 pounds. And for a combination of cardio and weights, they lost 5.4 pounds. I don't know about you, but when I see the cardio and weights group, I see an increase in lean mass, nice, and I see a decrease in fat mass, nice. And I see, in my eyes, maybe it's not clinically significant. Maybe it's not statistically significant for peer-reviewed medical research. But from a practical perspective, 5.4 is 46% greater than 3.7, and that's significant in my eyes. Plus, I didn't have a decrease in lean mass, even though the lean mass loss was small with the cardio only. I had an increase in lean mass, which is what I want, which is what anybody should want. I'm not going to spend much time on this, but I want you to know it's here so you can come back and take a look at it. And if you look, you can see, if my cursor shows up, over here is what it is. This is the weight change, and this group is the RT only, and this is the aerobic only, and this is the combination of aerobic and RT, and it follows for all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these. So over here we've got fat percent change. So this is the RT group. This is the aerobic only group. This is the aerobic and RT group combined. We've got waist circumference change here, RT, AT, then the combo. We've got lean body mass change here, RT, AT, and combo. Fat mass change here, RT, AT, and combo. Thigh muscle area change, RT, AT, and combo. When you take a look at this seems, in my view, makes things a little bit more evident, apparent, and clear as far as what was really going on, and it was easier to tie things together here. In the end, what I want you to see here is this. When we look at weight change, it's pretty similar between the cardio and the cardio plus weights. When we look at fat percent change, there's no doubt the cardio plus weights did a better job than just cardio alone. When we look at waist circumference, the RT plus AT, the cardio and weights did a better job than cardio alone. When it came to lean body mass change, the RT alone did a better job, of course, than the aerobics, but also it did a better job than the combo. When it came to fat mass change, the RT did not do such a great job, but compared to the cardio and weights did a better job on fat mass change. When it comes to thigh muscle area, the RT alone did the best, aerobics did the worst, and the RT AT combo actually did a little bit better on that thigh muscle area evaluation. So, that resting metabolic rate, RMR, theoretically increases as lean body mass increases. First of all, I don't think it theoretically increases as lean body mass increases, but I'll leave that to someone else to break that down. I think there's been enough research to indicate that RMR does increase as lean body mass increases. It results in a steady state increase in total energy expenditure and a corresponding negative shift in energy balance. Although we did not directly measure RMR in the present study, we observed that RT increased lean body mass without a significant change in fat mass or body weight. Irrespective of any change in RMR that might have occurred, given these observations along with those from other studies, it may be time to seriously reconsider the conventional wisdom that RT alone can induce changes in body mass or fat mass due to an increase in metabolism in overweight or obese sedentary adults. Okay, this is where multiple areas I see the author's bias seem to be shining through here. Don't know where it comes from, but it certainly appears to be there. And what they're saying here is, first of all, they say that it theoretically increases as lean body mass increases. I do not believe that's theoretical. I believe it has been proven time and time and time again in peer-reviewed medical research that the more muscle you have, the higher your RMR is going to be. How much more is very much up for dispute, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later. They did not measure the RMR, but here's the thing. There really wasn't a great increase in RMR anyway, and I'll cover that, or not RMR. There wasn't a great increase in new muscle added, no matter which group it was. So I wouldn't expect the RMR to go up much anyway. It'd be really tough to measure that difference, I would think, with only a couple of pounds of muscle. So given these observations, though, along with other studies, it may be time, they're telling us, it may be time to seriously reconsider the conventional wisdom that RT alone can induce changes in body mass or fat mass. Let's keep in mind, too, that these people were barely on a hypocaloric plan. They were eating about 2,000 calories a day, and I'll go into that a little bit more, too. So, continuing on, the cardio only decreases both body weight and fat mass significantly more than does just weights alone. And I put, this is my addition, not theirs. I added this. If you're barely hypocaloric and you're eating about 2,000 calories a day. So in other words, everything they're saying here is you got to keep in mind that the people in this study were eating about 2,000 calories a day for 8 months. So while the two modes of exercise produce statistically similar changes in body fat percentage, these changes were driven by different mechanisms where the weights alone increased lean body mass and the cardio alone decreased fat mass. Cardio alone trended, they like to use the word trended anytime they want to build up the cardio. Cardio alone trended towards significantly improving metabolic syndrome score better than RT. I'm not going to go into that much, but just the word trended seems to come up, and maybe it's pure science, and maybe it's purely statistically driven, but they seem to use that word quite a bit when it comes to cardio, and they don't seem to give weights only the same credit based on other research. There is a trend toward a greater reduction in visceral fat with cardio alone when compared with RT. These data taken together and combined with the knowledge that the weights alone program in their program was equivalent to the top end of those suggested in recent exercise guidelines provides compelling evidence that cardio alone is the optimal mode of exercise for improving body fat amount. So what they're saying is that the people doing the weights were using the amount and time and volume at the top end of suggested exercise guidelines. So in other words, they really just put the people through the mill in their mind, or they at least put the people at the top of the exercise guideline suggestions for their study. And they say it provides compelling evidence that cardio alone is the optimal mode of exercise for improving body fat amount. You really got to be careful about what you're measuring, and you got to really be careful about what terms you're looking at and what you're using here, and keeping in mind that everybody was eating about 2,000 calories a day. A 2000 American Heart Association Science Advisory states that weights alone complements cardio for weight control. And a recent study from Church and others found the combination of cardio and weights improved fat mass significantly more than cardio alone in type 2 diabetics. However, the observations of this study suggest that adding weights did not significantly improve upon the results of the cardio alone group in inducing weight control in a non-diabetic, inactive, overweight, and middle-aged cohort. This just blows my mind. I do not understand where they come up with this, that the combination of weights and cardio did not significantly improve upon the results of the cardio alone group. Are you kidding me? They lost 46% more fat. They gained muscle. They gained lean mass. They lost more fat mass. Maybe statistically again, maybe just based on pure research, statistical analysis, maybe they didn't. But in the real world, they did. And I have a feeling, since I can take a little liberty if the authors can, I have a feeling if the calories were dropped even more, you would have seen an even more pronounced effect on the cardio plus weights group. But even in their study, when you run the numbers, you see an additive effect of the cardio and weights group compared to the cardio alone. So to say that it did not significantly improve upon the results has got to be just pure science mumbo jumbo. Again, just in review, similar body weight and fat mass losses were observed in the cardio and weights group, even though the exercise duration in the combined group was approximately twice that of the cardio alone group. Again, just as a reminder, cardio alone lost 3.7 pounds of fat mass. Cardio and weights lost 5.4. The cardio alone lost 0.2 of a pound of muscle, if we're going to use that term, and the cardio and weights group gained 1.8 pounds of muscle. So the cardio weights group lost 46% more fat mass than the cardio alone group. To me, that's significant. The combined cardio weights group exercise group decreased minimal waist circumference significantly more than just weights. Perhaps the significant increase in exercise duration for the combined group explains this finding. However, the cardio group trended towards significantly decreased waist circumference by a greater increment than did weights, and as previously stated, the time commitment was similar between these groups. It is possible that a larger sample size would detect that cardio was more effective than weights for reducing this measure, and further research is needed. Oh, absolutely. The cardio group trended toward the significant decrease in waist circumference, and absolutely, if we'd only had a larger sample size, it's possible that the cardio-only group would have been more effective than weights for reducing this measure. Absolutely. Let's take liberties with that. In conclusion, the authors state, the data support the following conclusions. Although it was more effective for lean body mass gains, weights alone did not significantly reduce either fat mass or total body mass. Cardio alone was more effective than RT for the reduction of fat and body mass in previously sedentary, non-diabetic, overweight, or obese adults. While requiring double the time commitment, a program of cardio and weights did not result in a greater loss of fat mass. I disagree, by the way. Did not result in a greater loss of fat mass or body mass over cardio alone. If increasing muscle mass and strength is the goal, a program including weights is required. However, balancing time commitments against health benefits accrued, it appears that cardio alone is the optimal mode of exercise for reducing fat mass and total body mass. Wow. Okay. So, early on they said this. Given the imperative of reducing obesity rates, exercise guidelines must be based upon unequivocal evidence of specific relations between exercise mode and changes in body mass and fat mass. I do not believe this one study provides unequivocal evidence. Yet, they state, it appears that cardio alone is the optimal mode of exercise for reducing fat mass and total body mass. Once again, I'm going to say they've got bias. My conclusion is this. The goal of weight loss should never be solely about total body mass loss, in other words, the scale, and total fat mass loss. Losing fat and total body mass is great, and it's part of the picture. But if we don't perform weights, there's a very high likelihood of losing muscle during weight loss. Up to 50% of the weight, body mass in their terms, lost can be muscle, lean body mass. In addition to muscle loss during the action phase of weight loss, we naturally lose muscle after about the age of 25. This is called sarcopenia. We lose about 0.7% of our lean body mass per year after the age of 25, unless we're performing some resistance training. It's well known that the most significant contributor of the resting metabolic rate advantage of men over women is skeletal muscle and lean body mass. You're hearing that right. I mean, you probably already knew this, but men typically have higher metabolisms than women. And the predominant reason that we have higher metabolisms over women is because we typically have more muscle. And the more muscle we have, the more calories we burn at rest doing absolutely nothing. It's known. I don't believe that it is theoretical. The metabolic advantage for each pound of new skeletal muscle may be as little as 6 calories a day per pound to as many as 12 calories a day per pound. In the present study, the weights-only group added 2.4 pounds of lean body mass. The total metabolic advantage from this may be only 12 to 25 calories a day. Now, this may seem to be or actually be insignificant. However, over a 30-day period, if the advantage is even 12 calories per day per pound, this would result in at least 360 calories burned doing nothing more in your day. And actually, when you look at it, if it's 12 calories per pound and they gained 2.4 pounds, that's going to be about 25 calories a day, which is going to put the people at about 750 calories burned in 30 days doing nothing more other than just owning and maintaining those 2.4 pounds of extra lean body mass. So in 10 months, that's 3,600 calories, or it could be 7,500 calories for the 2.4 pounds, about the equivalent of 1 to 2 pounds of fat that may not be gained or that may be more easily lost depending on the goal. And what I really want to say is, whether in my haste my math got a little bit off here, when you look at 12 calories per day per pound of new lean body mass, new muscle, it may not be clinically, statistically significant. But if you look at the weeks and months and years as they go on, it's important that we maintain the lean body mass we have. It does burn additional calories. How much is up for debate, but it does burn more than not having it, and losing lean body mass or losing muscle slows metabolism, which is something we don't want to have happen. In the present study, RT alone did not create a significant loss of fat mass, and it was about half as effective as cardio or the cardio and weights group for creating a loss on the scale, which they refer to as total body mass. Perhaps not purely based on the scientific definitions of statistically significant, but based on practical real-world results, none of the protocols produce a significant body mass or fat mass loss. The best results came from the cardio weights group, and they lost 5.4 pounds of fat mass in 8 months. 8 months! But it's no one's fault. It makes sense when you consider everyone was eating about 2,000 calories a day. The little weight loss, regardless of the group, reflects the total calories the participants were consuming and highlights the overall lack of strength in relying on any form of exercise alone for creating a caloric deficit. If you want to lose a truly practical, real-world, meaningful amount of body and fat mass, then dietary considerations must be at the front of the line. Nutrition is at least 80% of the weight loss equation, and this study's little practical results reinforces this philosophy. The authors biasly state that the cardio RT group, the cardio weights group, fared no better than the cardio alone group for fat mass and body mass losses. They were right about body mass loss. That's the scale weight. They were wrong if real-world practical implications are considered when it comes to fat mass. The cardio and weights group lost 46% more fat mass while adding lean mass. Said another way, the cardio-only group lost 46% less fat mass while also losing a small amount of lean body mass. The ideal modality for the real world is cardio and weights. It's a combination. Only with the cardio weights combination did we get the best of all worlds, a nice increase in lean mass with the best decrease in fat mass of any of the 3 training modalities. The author's bias is revealed several times, but perhaps most noticeably when they state early on, given the imperative of reducing obesity rates, exercise guidelines must be based upon unequivocal evidence of specific relations between exercise mode and changes in body mass and fat mass. But then they conclude their article by saying, it appears that cardio alone is the optimal mode of exercise for reducing fat mass and total body mass. The present study put 50-year-olds, that was about the average age, on a 2,000 calorie eating plan, and then with one of 3 modalities, cardio, weights, or cardio and weights, they evaluated body mass, fat percentage, and lean mass changes, among other things. With the cardio and weights group creating a greater drop in waist circumference, more fat mass lost, and lean mass increase, the authors chose to state the clear winner was cardio alone, after stating early on that unequivocal evidence should be the standard for recommendations. Perhaps weights alone isn't the winner. Would things have been different with a true hypocaloric nutrition protocol? If the authors allegedly steeped in the halls of science can take liberty, why can't I and say, perhaps? If you want to create significant weight loss and fat loss while keeping or adding muscle, lean mass, which you should, then a combination of increased calorie reduction above what these authors used, combined with aerobic and resistance training, is the ideal prescription.